Welcome, everyone, to a deep dive. We're looking today at a really urgent and pretty complex global situation. We're going to try and cut through some of the noise around the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran. And specifically, we'll focus on President Donald Trump's recent, very direct statements and actions. Yeah, our main source for this is a detailed AP News report. It's titled, "Trump Has a Choice as Israel Looks for More U.S. Help versus Iran." It's really packed with details. So our mission today is, pull out the key insights, give you the content that you need, and help you understand what's really going on without getting totally lost in the headlines. Okay, so let's just jump right in. What's the immediate picture here?
Well, what's really striking from the report is just how tangible the impact is.
Right.
It clearly says the conflict has intensified.
Yeah.
And you see these immediate consequences like airports closing across the Middle East, regional airspace shut down. This isn't just talk. It's hitting daily life, disrupting travel, commerce, everything across a huge area.
And the human cost, the stakes seem incredibly high. I mean, the report mentions Israel saying it killed a top Iranian general. If that holds up, that's a huge step up. Plus, you've got foreign governments scrambling to get their people out, nationals stranded in Iran and Israel. And think about the people in Syria, in Lebanon, already war-weary, just watching missiles fly overhead. It paints a really tense picture, doesn't it? The whole region just holding its breath.
Absolutely. And into this very tense situation steps President Trump with some very strong words.
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. The sources point to his increasingly muscular comments aimed right at Tehran.
So what exactly did he say? It's quite direct, according to the report. He claimed the U.S. knows exactly where Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is hiding. Called him an easy target. So, wow. But then added, importantly, we're not going to take him out, kill. At least not for now.
Right, not for now. And it wasn't just that. He apparently urged Iran's unconditional surrender. That's unambiguous language. And warned them, but we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. He even touted complete control of the skies over Tehran.
And the direct warning to civilians. That was something else. The article notes Trump urged Tehran's 9.5 million residents to immediately evacuate Tehran. He later clarified, telling reporters, I just want people to be safe, but still telling millions to evacuate their capital city. That's a major statement.
So you have these really intense public warnings, but what about actions? The source mentions a significant move related to the G7 summit.
Yeah, that's right. President Trump apparently abruptly left the Group of Seven summit Monday, departing a day early. That definitely caught people's attention.
So why leave early? What was the connection?
Well, according to the report, it wasn't just a minor schedule change. He cut it short specifically to get back to Washington for urgent talks with his national security team because the conflict was intensifying so rapidly. This meant he actually skipped meetings scheduled for Tuesday, meetings that were supposed to cover the war in Ukraine and global trade.
So this Israel-Iran situation basically jumped to the very top of the agenda, pushing aside other major global issues.
It certainly seems that way. It underscores just how critical the White House viewed the situation at that moment.
Interesting side note, the report mentions French President Macron apparently saw Trump's early departure as entirely positive, somehow linking it to de-escalation. Different perspectives, I guess.
Different reads on the same event, for sure.
Yeah.
But beyond the public stage, the report also gives us a glimpse behind the curtain at some key decisions.
Like what?
Well, citing a U.S. official, the report states that President Trump actually rejected a plan presented by Israel to kill Ayatollah Khamenei.
He rejected it. Despite the tough talk about Khamenei being an easy target, why? What was the reasoning there?
The core concern, according to the official, was that killing Khamenei could just completely ignite the conflict, that it might destabilize the entire region, potentially making things much, much worse.
Yeah.
So it looks like a strategic calculation, maybe pulling back from the brink despite the public rhetoric.
Okay, that's a really crucial piece of behind-the-scenes information. And what about intelligence? There was some disagreement there too, right?
Yes, quite a significant one. The report notes Trump publicly dismissed congressional testimony from his own Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Back in March, she testified that U.S. spy agencies, the consensus view, was that Iran was not actively building a nuclear weapon at that time.
And Trump's reaction.
Very blunt. The quote is, I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it. So, a direct contradiction of his top intelligence official's public assessment.
How did Gabbard respond to that?
The article says she later sort of brushed off the inconsistency, claimed the media had misconstrued her testimony, and that actually she and the president were saying the same thing.
Hmm. That sounds like some political maneuvering, perhaps.
It certainly raises questions about how intelligence is used and communicated. And it's vital to remember, as the report notes, Iran has always insisted its nuclear program is purely for peaceful purposes.
Okay, so you have the tough talk, the rejected plan, the intelligence disputes. Where does this leave things? What's Trump's stated goal here? What does he actually want?
He's apparently looking for something more definitive than just stopping the immediate fighting. The report quotes him wanting something better than a ceasefire. Specifically, an end, a real end, not a ceasefire, an end. And a key part of that end is Iran completely giving up its nuclear program.
A real end. But how does he see that happening? Is he open to talks?
Well, there's some mixed messaging there. He expressed frustration, saying things like, they should have done the deal. I told them, do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in the mood to negotiate.
Hmm.
But interestingly, the report says he wasn't ruling out a diplomatic option entirely. He even mentioned possibly sending Vice President J.D. Vance and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to meet with the Iranians.
So keeping the door slightly ajar for diplomacy, maybe? Even while sounding reluctant?
Exactly. It reflects that tension between the hardline stance and, the potential need for some kind of negotiated outcome eventually.
And meanwhile, the U.S. is positioning itself militarily.
Yes, the report states Trump has been gradually building the public case for a more direct American role. And backing that up, the U.S. has repositioned warships and military aircraft in the region, basically getting assets in place to respond if needed.
Which brings us to Israel's position. What does the report say they want or need right now?
After about 5 days of missile strikes at the time of the report, Israel apparently felt it had done considerable damage to Iran. But they believe, with just a little more help from the U.S., they could potentially deal a permanent blow to Tehran's nuclear program. Prime Minister Netanyahu's goal, as stated, is to keep up the bombardment until Iran's nuclear program and their ballistic missiles are destroyed.
But there's a major obstacle for them, isn't there? Something they can't handle alone.
That's right. The report specifically points to Iran's Fordo uranium enrichment facility. This is the one famously built deep inside a mountain. Israel hasn't been able to destroy it. To do that, they'd likely need the American GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, that huge bunker-busting bomb, and the B-2 stealth bomber needed to deliver it. Israel doesn't have either of those.
So if the goal is to completely eliminate Iran's nuclear program, including hardened sites like Fordo, that seems to imply needing direct U.S. involvement with its most powerful conventional weapons.
Precisely. And the report explicitly notes that getting the U.S. involved at that level, providing those kinds of weapons, or even carrying out the strike, carries enormous political risk for Trump.
Yeah, you can see why. And despite Israel's offensive capabilities, Iran is still managing to strike back.
Yes, the report acknowledges that. Some Iranian retaliatory strikes are apparently getting through and having deadly impact. Even though Israel's defenses, like Iron Dome, are largely holding up, it's definitely not a one-sided exchange.
Okay, one last really interesting angle from the report, the politics back home. Within Trump's own supporters.
Right, this is fascinating. The president reportedly bristled when he was asked about some prominent figures in his base, the MAGA faithful. People like Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Charlie Kirk.
What were they saying that caused that reaction?
They've apparently been suggesting that getting the U.S. more deeply involved in this conflict would be a kind of betrayal. A betrayal of supporters who liked his earlier promises to end America's involvement in expensive, endless wars.
That's a key tension, isn't it? Because the report notes he ran on ending the wars in Gaza and Ukraine quickly, but hasn't really found a clear path to do that.
Exactly. It highlights a potential conflict within his own base about foreign intervention.
And Trump pushed back directly.
Oh, yeah. He went on social media, specifically targeting Carlson, writing something like, "Somebody please explain to Cookie Tucker Carlson that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon." Caps and all.
So, drawing a hard line there. But others in his circle are defending him.
Yes, Vice President J.D. Vance stepped in, also on X. Said he wanted to address a lot of crazy stuff on social media. Vance argued Trump has been consistent, Iran can't have uranium enrichment, and that resolution would come either the easy way or the other way, implying force is an option.
And then you have the other side of the argument within his supporters, too.
Right. The report mentions figures like Senator Lindsey Graham who are urging Trump to essentially go all in, fully back Israel, destroy Iran's nuclear program, no holds barred. So it really shows a split, a debate happening right within his own political coalition about how far to go.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot here. Trump's very strong rhetoric, the G7 departure, the behind-the-scenes rejection of that Israeli plan, the intelligence clashes, the military positioning, and these domestic political pressures. So, wrapping this up, what does this complex picture mean for you, the listener, trying to make sense of it all?
Well, I think this deep dive really highlights the incredible complexity, doesn't it? You have these public declarations, very forceful ones, but also these strategic calculations happening in private. And it throws a key question into sharp relief for you to think about. How do leaders navigate that constant tension? The tension between wanting a definitive end to a problem, like Iran's nuclear program, and the massive risks involved in escalating to achieve it, especially in such a volatile part of the world.
That balancing act.
Exactly. It's a critical balance, constantly being reassessed, and the choices made have potentially huge consequences, not just for the region, but really for global stability. It's a story that is definitely still unfolding.